Good afternoon, and I hope you had a very hearty lunch. Our guest speaker this afternoon is a man who is no longer a stranger to hard work. From his humble beginnings, he worked hard, making him a successful businessman in the field of supply management. He's born in Tondo, Manila, and he is the second of 12 children. He excelled in school. He was the school's valedictorian in grade and in high school. He graduated with honors with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in PSBA, or Philippine School of Business Administration, and he became a certified public accountant. He worked in an auditing firm, and it was there that our speaker became interested in the freight forwarding industry. This became the seed driving him to establish the logistics company Air 21, the sole licensee of FedEx in the Philippines. Since then, a number of logistics businesses sprouted from that seed he planted, such as Cargo House Incorporated, U-Ocean Philippines Incorporated, U-Freight Philippines, just to name a few. He received a number of awards such as Most Outstanding Manilan, Lifetime Achievement Award by the Global Carriers Incorporated, a PayPal Award, Pro Ecclesia et Pontifice, People of the Year Award given by the People Asia, and FedEx President's Club Award given in Memphis, Tennessee in the US. And this is just to name a few. A former Commissioner of Bureau of Customs, he is also an avid supporter of music, arts, and sports, being the team owner of Air 21 basketball team in the PBA. He is currently the chairman of Lina Group of Companies, a family man, first loving spouse, 4 daughters, and several grandchildren. Here with us to share his expertise and entrepreneurial spirit in the field of supply management, it is an honor to introduce our speaker this afternoon, Mr. Alberto Lina.
I hope you had coffee para hindi tayo makatulog. Maikli lang yung aking sasabihin. Hello and good afternoon to you all. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. And I'd like to thank Ms. Maria Zamora and the Board of Trustees and the Philippine Institute for Supply Management for inviting me to speak to all of you today. I'd like to know a little bit about you, although I gave you a little early. May I have a show of hands? How many in the audience are business owners or entrepreneurs? May I show a show of hands? Si Miss Chu ayaw tumasa. Okay. How many are employees? Okay. Thank you very much. Today, I'll be sharing some thoughts about entrepreneurship in the supply chain. To begin, I'd like to ask all of you today a short imagination exercise with me. I'd like to ask you to close your eyes and just imagine the scenario that I'm about to present. Are you ready? Okay. Let's begin the exercise. Walang cheating. Imagine it is already tomorrow and you have arrived at your office. Before you get settled at your desk, you get a message from a colleague that your boss is asking to see you. When you see your boss, he or she has a serious look and you start feeling worried. You rack your brain and wonder what's wrong. Your boss then breaks the bad news. You're fired. Period. No chance for any consideration. You're out of the company effective immediately. What are you feeling now? Anger, fear, panic. Your thoughts race back in time to see if you made any major errors. Your thoughts race forward and you wonder how you will tell your spouse that you're out of a job. You worry if you have enough savings to cover the next few months, and you brace yourself for the concerned questions family and friends will pose once they learn the news. You feel your neck and shoulders tighten, and your stomach is unsettled. You ask God, what do I do next? This marks the end of our imagination exercise. Now, since all of you close your eyes, expect something from me. I'll ask your secretary to give me all your respective addresses. I have a surprise to all of you, care of N21. As you may slowly open your eyes, and we can continue. For you ladies and gentlemen, that was just a little exercise to visualize a scenario that professional people fear the most, getting fired. For me, more than 34 years ago, that scenario was not an imagination exercise, but reality. I was the president of a freight forwarding company, and then I was fired. From being top dog, I was suddenly unemployed, married with 2 young children. At that point, I could have chosen to look for work in another company, but I was wary of repeating history of putting my faith in the hands of others. I chose instead to be an entrepreneur. Because of my experience with the freight forwarding company, I decided to put up my own. I chose the name Air Freight 2100 Team because in blackjack, the number 21 wins. Hindi, sa totoo lang po, ako po ay na-fire out June 21, 1979. So I told myself I will rise from that number. Yeah. 34 years later, here I am, grateful for getting fired that fateful day. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Getting fired was the catalyst that ignited my entrepreneurial spirit. I had no choice but to make it work. Back then, logistics was still in its infancy. The word logistics wasn't even the term being used. Cargador was more like it. The first few years were a struggle. One of my favorite stories to tell is about my wife being the one to drive the trucks when an important shipment had to be delivered and all the truck drivers already went home. We started small with one truck, and by God's grace, we grew from there. At that time, the playing field was wide open for new players like Tito Camin. Through determination, hard work, and the support of my employees, we built a company that has endured even when competition has now increased. From my story, you can take away one key point. God has His own plans for us. Whenever we encounter trials, hardships, and difficulties, we need to look beyond the pain of our suffering and distress and try to see what it is that God is pushing us for us to do. Perhaps we have greater gifts that are meant to be unleashed into the world, and only a massive upheaval can facilitate that process. We can only appreciate this in hindsight, but we can practice trusting in God every day to strengthen our faith so that when the moment of trial comes, we are calm, knowing that something good will come out of it. Whether you are forced to become an entrepreneur like myself, or you do it out of your own volition and passion, my advice would be the same. Start small. Start with one truck, deliver great service, and from there, slowly expand. It's common sense, right? Yes. But sometimes entrepreneurs can get caught up with a great idea and ambition that they throw caution to the wind, much to the peril of their venture. There is nothing wrong with having big dreams and ambitions. To realize these ambitions, you just need to take it one careful step at a time, so that you manage your risk and you get to integrate the lessons you learn from your mistakes as well as your successes. If you are considering becoming an entrepreneur and are nervous that you lack certain skills, review your past experience. I am sure that you have core strengths and knowledge that would serve as a base of experience when you launch a new venture. In my case, I already know how to run a freight forwarding company. I just had to go through the growing pains of starting my own organization. Even prior to the freight forwarding industry, I was a CPA by profession, specialized in audit. To this day, all the skills that I have developed in my career, I still use in making decisions. Making the jump from employee to entrepreneur requires a shift in thinking. As an employee, you are encouraged to focus on a sphere of expertise. You have a specific scope of responsibility and particular departments that you pledge allegiance to, perhaps operations. As an entrepreneur, you need to develop a bigger picture kind of thinking, which means looking at situations as a business owner and considering the implications from every department angle as well as every stakeholder's angle. You need to think about your employees, your customers, your suppliers, your competitors, all at the same time. Sabay-sabay, ika nga. Given the more crowded environment in logistics, do you think there are still business opportunities to be made nowadays? The answer to that is yes. A mark of a true entrepreneur lies in his ability to see the gaps. A mark of a true entrepreneur lies in his ability to gaps. GAPS. The friction and the pain points. The suboptimal ways of how business is currently done, and envision a product of service that would close the gap, ease the pain, and optimize the business process. You are all experts in the supply chain. You all know that your objective in your job is to ensure that each link in the supply chain is securely linked to each other at the greatest speed and at the lowest cost. How to ensure the right item is delivered at the right place, in the right quantity at the right time, and at the right cost. That is the perennial challenge that you constantly solve day in and day out as the world of business continually evolves. With your daily operations, I am sure there are challenges